Today's visual novel is Muv-Luv Extra, which stars Shirogane Takeru. Takeru is a laid-back guy who basically spends a lot of his time either bickering with his childhood friend Sumika or playing video games. One day, a girl by the name of Maya, which he doesn't remember, suddenly decides to move into his house with the intention of eventually marrying Takeru. Maya also happens to be the heir to a large corporation, so it seems that it would be an offer that he couldn't refuse. However, of course Takeru isn't too interested in women, or really anything beyond video games at this moment, so things don't go quite as planned for her. Thus begins a romantic comedy of the daily lives of Takeru and his friends. So yes, Muv-Luv Extra is very much as typical as a character-oriented visual novel can ever get. The tone is overall incredibly silly, but does have some light dramatic moments later on. So think of it as similar to Magikoi in its approach, where absolutely ridiculous and over-the-top events can happen. For example, Maya is so rich that she could literally have a skyscraper constructed in a single day. While there are other heroines as well, it's clear the main focus is on the love triangle between Takeru, Sumika, and Maya. So suffice to say, if you're looking for a story, you will be sorely disappointed. That's what I would say normally, but as most people know, this can't be all there is to Muv-Luv. If you're curious on why it's received so much praise, then I suppose I have to give a slight spoiler. Though I have no idea why I have to consider this a spoiler, because I highly doubt anyone would buy or check out the series unless they knew about this fact. I know I certainly wouldn't, so there. So yeah, spoilers! But Muv-Luv is actually a trilogy that eventually turns into a dark mecha with aliens. Yes, it goes through the infamous genre shift later on with no real foreshadowing and extra to bring it to that point. Of course, genre shifts might be what I consider to be one of the worst plot devices ever. What Muv-Luv does is the equivalent of having someone play an RPG for 10 to 15 hours, and then turning it into an FPS for the last 30. It's just a terrible idea because it tries to tackle two audiences, fans of slice of life and fans of darker, more plot-oriented stuff, and I wouldn't say it really succeeds at pleasing both, so yeah, it's just a terrible idea. Why would anyone ever do this? The only time a genre shift is acceptable is when you do it right at the beginning, like as a joke, or do it right near the very end, is what I would say. A tone shift is acceptable, but even Muv-Luv's tone shift is way too dramatic. It goes from being really over-the-top silly to incredibly over-the-top dark. And that's not good. I mean, imagine Magikoi, a game that people like. People don't usually like Muv-Luv Extra too much. And then having it turn to berserk levels of seriousness. I don't think that would really make that audience too happy. They wouldn't want that to happen. They don't want to see Wanko getting screwed by a dog. No one wants to see that. Except for Dark Arrow Gay players, and they want to see anything that's weird. But the only reason I would think it's acceptable in Muv-Luv's case is I would imagine is because Muv-Luv Extra is just a terrible Karage. Takeru is a lame main character, the heroines outside of Sumika lack any believable chemistry with him, and the comedy is mostly terrible, especially in comparison to Magikoi. So yeah, I guess people were just glad it turned into something better. If you did the same thing with Magikoi like I said before, people wouldn't like that. They would think that's really screwing over the audience who liked Magikoi. But Muv-Luv Extra is a piece of crap, so probably better that it did this, but it probably should have always done this. Of course, it uses it somewhat as a plot device, and I don't think it succeeds at all. Like, some people defend it and say, well, there are parallels, and I'm like, that's not good enough. That parallels, it's like Muv-Luv Extra is not good enough just to see a few parallels. In fact, it's not good at all. It's a piece of crap, is what I would say. The only reason to have a genre shift is to simply surprise the audience. But to me, it's just a real cheap way to do it. So already the question has been answered, but the biggest one is, do I have to play Muv-Luv Extra and Unlimited, but this is just a review of Extra, to read Alternative? The answer is most certainly no. Most of what's in it can be implied from flashbacks and other events, and it's just simply not worth anyone's time or money. Sure, I would say it's a higher tier than maybe Snow Sakura, oh god, but any visual novel that low should really just be ignored. Just play any game, any Karage, play Magikoi, play Kira Kira, play Eldevice, play If My Heart Had Wings. Even though I complained about If My Heart Had Wings so much, play that over this. That is like godly compared to Muv-Luv Extra. Or just go read the Love Hina manga, or any harem romance, because this is as typical and low tier. You can find this anywhere. This is like nothing new. Really, people just play through it because they feel they have to get the full experience, and really the only reason is to get the Sumika and Takaru connection is the real reason, in which case, once again, flashbacks basically show their connection for you, so you don't even need to read it. In which case, I really think that time is best spent elsewhere. However, if you do choose to read Muv-Luv Extra, I would most certainly only force yourself to read through Maya and Sumika's routes. They are both pretty interconnected and can be finished shortly, one right after the other. Only read the other 3 routes if you legit like the heroines or find yourself liking Extra. There will be some of you who do, and some of you just like Karages, and that's perfectly fine. But otherwise, don't feel like you have to force yourself to read those. Read a summary of Extra of anything, if you must feel, but you don't even have to do that, if you ask me. There's no need to really cover my views on the other routes, though, because quite honestly, like I said before, I think all of them are pretty bland. I don't think any of them are worth anyone's time. Production-wise, there's really nothing impressive in this game other than how crazy the heroines' haircuts are. Like, really, they are so crazy. Maya's hair, you will never forget it once you look at it. And that's better than nothing. At least it has something memorable about it, right? But then you look at Takaru, and he's Blandy Bland McGee. He should look like Kazuki from Buso Rinken. I think that was his name, the main character's name in Buso Rinken. He had a crazy, like, wild haircut, and that's what Takaru should have, to, like, kind of make him blend in with the heroines. But he just looks so weird and bland. He just, he's so dull looking. But yeah, art and audio-wise, it does not impress at all. Not too great voice acting, not forgettable music, and yeah, just nothing really to give you here. Overall, Muv-Luv is just a game you will literally more than likely have to force yourself through unless you really love goofy Karages hardcore. The tone and genre is alienating from the later parts of the story, and it simply doesn't blend in well at all. It's just a bland game, too. Now, clearly this review is a bit different than other reviews because there's nothing to talk about in this game, because Extra has about as much depth as a puddle on the sidewalk. So for Unlimited, in the next review, we'll have probably a bit more to talk about. Not really, but we'll have a little bit more to talk about. As the final question people might ask, is Muv-Luv the series worth reading? Well, it certainly seems that the popularity of the game would say yes, but I'm going to say no. This is for many reasons, but primarily due to the horrific pacing more than anything. Muv-Luv Extra is at least 20 hours, Muv-Luv Unlimited is around 15 to 20, and Alternative is around 40 to 50. The story does not really get rolling until you're around 15 hours into Alternative, and even then, it's slow. To me, unless you're a hardcore visual novel fan, or if this is one of your first big visual novels, then I just don't think it's worth anyone's time. I mean, 80 hours where 50 of that is just not too great at all, and even then, I don't think the rest of it is that great. Some people think the rest of it is awesome. Some people love Alternative. Alternative is many people's favorite visual novel, and it might be your favorite visual novel. Not mine, not even close, but I'm just saying that's a possibility, and that would be the reason to read it, because a lot of people like it. Some people could say I possibly overhyped myself for Alternative, but considering you have to read through a lot of subpar content to get to the supposed good part of the story, I think the only way to force yourself through it is to overhype yourself. What I expected, just to let you know what I expected, since people were saying Alternative was so good despite, you have to go through Extra and Unlimited and a boring part of Alternative, I was expecting the Xenogears of visual novels. Did I get the Xenogears of visual novels? No way. The story is not that good. It has some good, don't get me wrong, Alternative has some good aspects, which I'll cover in the review when I get to it, but it has just as many, if not more, negatives, so yeah. Still, it's just not a game series I think is worth most people's time or money, so I can't recommend it.